Hello everyone and welcome to the Crescent podcast. It's so good to be here today. It was sunny earlier, but the sun's disappeared behind the clouds, so it's a bit grim outside. Okay, I wanted to talk about autism today. It's currently Autism Acceptance Month, and on 2nd of April it was Autism Awareness Day. And whilst I am happy to shout about my autism and my experiences, I struggle with these awareness days. The terminology doesn't sit right with me. Awareness isn't enough, and yet on the same thing, everyone's aware of autism, or more so than they used to be. But awareness isn't enough, and acceptance is good, but it doesn't go far enough. It's not enough to simply accept that people are autistic or neurodivergent. More support and more understanding, and above anything, change is needed for neurodivergent people to truly be able to flourish. I know a lot of the corporations and even schools, they all jump on the bandwagon of saying it's Autism Awareness Month or it's Autism Awareness Day, and that's it. They do that. There's no lasting change. They don't do anything more. And some people who do use the hashtags and do talk about it, they are doing more, and they're trying to do things behind the scenes or actively getting involved. But a lot of people don't. It's just another national day to jump on board with. I mean, even my early experiences of I got involved with the PTA at the school purely because my youngest child, who's autistic, he could not have gone to a school disco on his own when he was 4, when he started school. I knew he needed extra supervision, so then I got involved with that. Now I've got more involved with the school and ASD related things in that way. So I wanted to focus on neurodivergence for this episode because it affects every part of me, my business and how I run it. And I really hope and believe that by talking about it more and making people more and more aware and more accepting and hopefully actively embracing us neurodivergent folk, that I can help encourage the change that's needed. And I know it's just me sitting here in my little podcast, and I don't even know how many people are actually going to watch this, but this is what I can do, what I feel able to do. I think I am still very much learning about who I am since I got diagnosed with autism almost a year ago to the day now. It explains so much about myself, my life, how I process things, and it's enabled me to put things in place so that I can not just manage day to day, but how I can thrive and be my best version of myself, as cheesy as that sounds. For example, I went to the fantastic Digital Women Live event in Birmingham in March. It was amazing. I was away overnight, so it was even more amazing because I had a night to myself in a nice hotel. And it was an amazing event. It was brilliant. And whilst it was incredible and I got to meet some lovely people and listen to some fantastic speakers, it took me 2 days to recover from it. I thought maybe a day of doing nothing afterwards and I'd be fine, but it was literally 2 days in bed. I could not function. I was so wiped out. I'd planned to go to an event 2 days later and I couldn't because I was so burnt out. And I have become aware of just how heavily I mask, and I also stim quite a lot as well. I fidget a lot. I skin pick a lot, my poor hands. And going to events, going networking, meeting people, and even meeting my clients, it can really exhaust me. I can't do back-to-back meetings. I have to constantly be mindful of so many different things at once when I'm planning doing anything, even just planning out my day. When I was employed in a proper job, every few months I would need a day or two off sick and I would just be in bed, non-functioning, couldn't do anything. And I genuinely, for years, thought that it was because I was pathetic and weak and I wasn't normal because I just can't function the same way that everyone else could. No one else needed to have days off sick like that. no one else seemed to be getting as run down just because just living their life. Now, with the understanding that I have and the beauty of hindsight, I can see that I was experiencing burnout. So now I can take steps to try and manage this. If I know I've got a particularly busy day coming up, I know to make sure that the next day, or potentially 2 days, are clear so that I can recover or do behind the scenes work if I'm able to. But even that in itself takes a lot of thought and planning, and things which I think neurotypical people just don't even consider. And I'm not blaming anyone, it's just from my own observation, and now having believed I was neurotypical for so long, to find that actually I'm wired differently. It's quite a revelation to try and get your head around. So I try to be much kinder to myself now. I used to be really hard on myself when I struggled, but now I know it's okay. There's a reason for it. I can take a breath, have a break when I find something too much. And yeah, it's essentially my brain just works differently, and it needs longer to process and get through things. And that's fine. I constantly am advocating for my children and their various neurodivergences, their school, with their friends, in public. And I always forget to include myself in that. I always add myself on as an afterthought. It's like, oh yes, because my children are autistic, or my children are neurodivergent, so I have to think about X, Y, and Z. Oh yeah, because also I'm also autistic. So then when I do mention my autism, the reaction is usually one of total surprise. And I have often, before I found out I was autistic, I was often told that I'm odd, or I'm weird, or my favourite, I was called quirky. And I quite like that. I embraced it. It didn't bother me, and I always felt kind of weird, so I thought I knew what people meant. But then when people learn about my diagnosis, I get told, but you seem so normal. So which is it? Am I weird? Or am I normal? Sometimes it feels like I can't win. And then there's the discussion about neurodivergence being a superpower. And I know there are very strong feelings on this, both for and against, and I've had multiple conversations with several people about this. In my mind, it's definitely not a superpower. There is nothing about how I feel or function that I would particularly wish on other people. But I can understand it can be a helpful tactic for parents trying to explain to their children who are neurodivergent that it can be a strength, that it's a good thing and it should be embraced. Yes, definitely, completely. And yes, I see the world in a different, I think potentially better way. But the struggles and difficulties that I and most other neurodivergent people experience every single day make life complicated and hard. And that's just me. That's not even including my children and the constant support and consideration I need to give to them in light of their neurodivergencies, but alongside my neurodivergencies. It's not just about how my neurodivergence affects me, it's how it affects them and my family, and how their neurodivergence affects them, each other, and then me. It's so much to think about. And when I tell people I'm autistic, I'm always asked to explain what makes me autistic. What is it I do that makes me autistic? And more often than not, my brain goes completely blank and I forget what autism even is. I have no idea what it is. I feel like I have to justify my diagnosis. And the main thing that I end up telling people once I finally get my head screwed on again is that I struggle a lot in social situations, like networking for my business, where these conversations invariably happen. And whilst I appear normal to them, I've worked really hard to put things in place and learn behaviours so that I appear normal, so I can be accepted in society, which is also why my autism went undiagnosed for so long. And further examples and conversations that I give and have with people lead to a lot of people saying, oh, but I do that. Or isn't everyone a bit autistic? No, very simply, no. There's a spectrum, and you can be at varying levels of the spectrum, and you may have autistic traits or ADHD traits, but not everyone is neurodivergent. It's kind of the same, bear with me with this, it's kind of the same as saying everyone's pregnant just because you experience nausea or you've put on weight. Yes, there's symptoms associated with pregnancy, but you're either pregnant or you're not. There's no middle ground. Yes, neurodivergence is a spectrum. It can fluctuate day to day, but you are only on the spectrum if you meet enough of the criteria. Neurodivergence is a natural variation in brain function. So people saying that everyone's a little bit autistic actually really belittles the struggles that we, neurodivergent people, face on a daily basis as we try to just exist in this world created by and for neurotypical people. Neurotypical people don't spend days, weeks, months, or years, in my case, wondering if they're autistic. They don't spend ages going online, filling out questionnaire after questionnaire because they think they might be. They just know they're not. And if you are spending a long time going through finding out these questionnaires and tests and doing these online surveys, then there might be something in that. But the general neurotypical person doesn't do that. Or another example, you could think of it like headaches. Everyone gets headaches, but not everyone gets migraines. So if you apply that in terms of neurodivergent people getting migraines every day, so severely they impact your life on a daily basis, that might go some way to explaining the difference. Or saying you're dyslexic because you can't spell very well. Or if you feel sad one day, then you're depressed. Dyslexia and depression are difficult conditions to live with and manage, and by claiming that everyone's a bit dyslexic or a bit depressed, hugely undermines what they go through on a daily basis. So I do struggle with the everyone's a bit autistic, and if everyone was a little bit autistic or neurodivergent, wouldn't schools know by now how to support neurodivergent kids? There wouldn't be such a struggle with it. If everyone had it, it wouldn't be so much of an issue, surely. Wouldn't the unwritten social rules be understood by everyone? Wouldn't all clothes just be softer by default? And if none of these things have ever really occurred to you, then you're not neurodivergent, just in case you're wondering. I think the other thing I struggle with is that a lot of people seem to think that if they've met one autistic person, they know everything about autism or neurodivergence. If you've met one autistic person, then you've met one autistic person. There are as many variances and differences in neurodivergent people as there are in neurotypical. My autism is completely different to other people's, and in itself can change day to day. Sensory issues I have regarding labels in clothes, for example, may not irritate me the same way today that they might tomorrow. And by rights, the way neurodivergent people need help and support is different for each person, and what works for one may not work for others. My son needs deep compression sometimes, but cannot bear the weighted jackets that he's been encouraged to wear. As soon as you put one on him, he'll take it straight off. He's not interested. He is much happier and much more receptive to having a deep hug from someone that he trusts and feels safe with. For a neurotypical person to say that they understand based on one experience, that's not okay. And it's not true, because we're all different as much as neurotypical people are different. So, bring it back to how it relates to business. I have absolutely no doubt if I'd received my diagnosis earlier in life that I would have had better support, and ultimately I'd have been treated better in the workplace, because also I would have understood myself better and be able to stand up for myself better and not be so easily dismissed and pushed to one side that I know I was. And whilst more policies and procedures have been or are being put in place with businesses, there's still such a long way to go before neurodivergent people are fully protected and aren't afraid to be themselves. Employers need to have a much more flexible approach to working times, patterns, and make allowances for neurodivergent people. And I'm not saying that we should be given free rein to do the bare minimum work and take the mick with it. I wouldn't want that, and that's not what most neurodivergent people want. But allowances need to be made to take the difficulties that we experience into account. And actually, I think most neurodivergent people that I know are actually self-employed, which is hardly surprising when you think about it, because they're then able to manage their own workloads to their own ability without having a manager breathing down their necks or making them jump through hoops, because they are able to schedule their days better to suit them and their capabilities. To be honest, when I went freelance and started Crescent Digital Marketing, I did it because I knew that I needed more flexibility than the normal 9 to 5 could offer. Mainly for my children, doing the school runs, the school holidays, supporting my youngest child in particular. But now I understand myself better. I know I will never be able to work for someone else in that way again. I need to prioritise my health, my needs, my happiness, which ultimately also make me a better parent above being employed. Yes, being self-employed is hard work, And if you're off sick, you don't get paid for it. If you want to have a holiday, you have to think about covering all your bases so that work doesn't just stop while you're away. It's really hard, but I wouldn't have it any other way now. Now I know what I need to be good at my job, to be happy in life, and to be present and there for my children. I will never be employed again. I don't think so. There was a report from the Office of National Statistics in, I think it was 2021, and it showed that just 22% of autistic adults are in any kind of employment. It's staggering. And yes, not all neurodivergent people have the capability to work, but a lot of people want to and aren't able to because of employers and businesses being unreceptive or unwilling to change or be adaptive. Just because you've done something a certain way doesn't mean it always has to be like that. And by not employing neurodivergent people, you are missing out on a whole load of creativity and different ways of thinking that could enhance a business so much. I did check out before coming on here to record this that there is an Autistic Pride Day. It's on the 18th of June, celebrated globally. And I think that is such a better way to communicate about autism and neurodivergence. Not rather than the awareness and the acceptance. Pride is so much more like celebrating who we are, what we can do, how we think, our approaches to life with our neurodivergences. I just think that is such an incredible thing to do and so positive in its mindset that I will definitely be celebrating my autism and me and my business because it is part of everything that I do. So if anyone wants to get in touch, let me know what you think, or if you want to come on and be a guest, or you want to see about how we can collaborate or something, I would love to hear from you. I hope everyone's really good, and I didn't ramble on too much, hopefully. Otherwise, I will see you all soon.